Sony will soon announce the new Sony ZV-E10 E-mount camera. And these are the likely specs. 24 megapixel camera. Hi, welcome back to Camera Cravings. I hope you're all well. I hope you found that entertaining. That was just my silly reaction to the Sony ZV-E10 specs. God, that's such a mouthful. Yeah, I'm really disappointed. If this is what Sony actually brings out in the next couple of weeks, I'm not sure when it's going to be. This camera is Sony's APSC latest camera, and it seems like it's going to be reusing a lot of parts from previous cameras, and this is something that Sony just seems to keep doing at the moment, and it's quite disappointing. I think I've watched a couple of videos, watched Jason Morris's video on the specs of this, and he was similarly frustrated. I think a lot of people in the comments were as well, and we're going to talk about exactly what the kind of leaked specs are right now and go through them, and I want to give you my thoughts on what I think as a photographer primarily. I also do video stuff, but I'm a photographer first and foremost, and yeah, how disappointed I am with what Sony are currently doing. So yeah, let's take a look at the specs right now. I'll put them up here. So apparently it's going to be the same 24 megapixel APS-C sensor that we've seen in multiple Sony bodies since, I don't know, 2015 is it? Or maybe a little bit later. Essentially it's the same one that's in the 6600, 6400 and so on. Which to me seems very disappointing given how much time has passed since they first developed that sensor, and the fact that they keep talking about how important the APS-C line is to them, but it seems like because photography camera sales are in decline, they just think, fine, we'll just make a camera for video creators, vloggers, YouTubers, you know, people streaming content. So I can understand why they're kind of making this kind of camera in terms of a financial sense, but it just seems very disappointing that they're doing this. So Sony Alpha rumours, whether we can trust what is written on the website, who knows, but if these specs are true, they're talking about selling it with the previous sort of standard kit lens, the 16 to 50 millimeter, 3.5 to 5.6. So full frame equivalent, that's like a 24 to 75-ish. Again, if you're targeting this camera at vlogging, people who are holding the camera in front of them or doing, you know, YouTube stuff like this, that's really not wide enough in my opinion. And actually the new Tamron, I think it's a 10 to 18. It's a new Tamron one out. I'll put an image of it up now, which is a 2.8 lens. That seems like a much better lens for this kind of setup. Just disappointed to see that Sony isn't really innovating in this particular market segment. They're talking about the same 8-bit 4K 25p 100 megabits a second that we've seen in cameras dating all the way back to this one, the A7R2. And again, just a bit rubbish, isn't it? I don't know. Sony, come on, get with the program. Like, why are they not producing something better by now? Full HD up to 100p, so 1080. Again, you know, fine. It's not bad, but I suppose they're trying to keep the price point down. So this is going to be priced around $900, $899, similar amount in euros and pounds, I think. So it's a couple of hundred extra than the existing ZV-1, which obviously it has a smaller sensor in it, has a kind of 1-inch sensor. It seems like it's going to be targeted at the same people, so essentially an interchangeable lens ZV-1. I feel like they're just doing the bare minimum, really. I've seen people in other videos in the comments talking about, you know, essentially we're waiting for Sony to produce what already exists in the Fuji X-T4. And that's a really good point. They're saying standard and active stabilization. So it seems like we'll see very similar things to what we've got on camera I'm filming with now, which is the A7S III. So where you have the digital active stabilization that just crops in slightly on the existing image. And obviously on an APS-C sensor camera, you're already cropping. So I have to see how that pans out, and also just whether the image stabilization has been improved at all, because I do feel like Sony is really kind of lagging behind now. I currently use the EOS R5 from Canon for a lot of my stuff, and I have to say, even for stills, this is just way better. Stabilization in that camera is, yeah, just a lot better than the Sony ones at the moment. And yeah, again, auto exposure and face priority and the product feature autofocus mode that we've seen on the ZV-1, where it locks focus on like the faces until you put something up in front of it, so like a product, and then it would lock on, which my camera is doing, I think. But yeah, so again, button for bokeh mode, so it prioritizes the lowest aperture, same as the ZV-1 it seems, just taking all of those features across onto an interchangeable lens camera, which, you know, they'll probably sell a lot of these, but for those of you out here, those of you out there who are kind of sports or wildlife photographers, either hobbyists or you know, selling your images but can't afford the kind of more expensive setups, I know you're all craving a decent wildlife camera and sports camera, ideally in kind of an A7 body but with an APS-C sensor and all the bells and whistles that would come with that. And it doesn't seem like Sony are producing one of those yet. And will they ever? Who knows? Yeah, I'm just hugely frustrated and disappointed by what Sony's doing at the moment. It feels like they're just trying to rinse out as much of their old parts as possible before kind of moving on. There's going to be a dedicated button swap between S and Q modes, photo and video modes, so that's good. We'll have to see where they put it on the camera and how useful that is. USB-C tether, so direct streaming to a computer, PC, presumably, and a Mac, don't know. It says here plug and play, so again, I can use my current A7S III plugged into the computer for streaming or Zoom calls or any of that stuff, but at the moment you have to download a bit of software first, so this seems to suggest you won't have to do that. You just plug and play straight in, which again is a nice feature. And then in terms of the body size, it seems like they're ditching the EVF that we would have seen on like the A6400, A6600, and going with just an articulating screen at the back, which appears to be a fully articulating one, which is again nice to see that they're doing that. But for me, the big question is, are they just going to put the same kind of cheap, pretty rubbish screen on this camera? I presume they will do, which doesn't have very good resolution, isn't great out in the sunlight. And yeah, I'm sure that's what we will see because of the price point. And will it be touchscreen? Again, I suspect not, because of the kind of price point it's at. I would love to see Sony do something innovative with the touchscreens on the camera. Again, this Canon camera touchscreen just totally outperforms the one on the A7S III. It's bigger, it's easier to use, more responsive, better resolution. So yeah, come on Sony. So yeah, the other things I wrote down in my notes were, will it have kind of the wireless audio feature using the kind of multi-interface hot shoe on the top that we've seen in the ZV-1 and other cameras? Hopefully they will implement that, because I think that is actually a bit of really good tech that they put in their cameras at the moment. And also, will it overheat? How kind of long will you be able to record? Will there be any kind of record limits? And will there be any new codecs, any 10-bit stuff? I suspect not, but yeah, I'd really like to see that. The other thing that people have talked about online is the rolling shutter and how that's going to be. Are they going to have improved that at all? We'll have to wait and see. It feels like this is going to be another kind of A7C in the fact that it's just a repackaged existing Sony camera, essentially, with a few other new features chucked in and a few taken away. So yeah, kind of mixed feelings. Obviously at the moment we've only got rumour sites and leaked information to go on, which are notoriously kind of can't really be trusted, so we'll have to wait and see. But let's just hope Sony surprises us and gives us something that we actually want, because at the moment I think there's a lot of us who probably really don't care about this camera and will not buy it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below and I'll see you soon.